Sandra, you're on mute.
Thank you, Shauna. I should know that by now, right?
It happens to all of us.
Well, good morning. I'm Sandro Tejada, Director of Major Gifts and the Seton Hall Parents Program. Thank you for joining us to kick off Seton Hall Week in our first virtual offering, Coffee and Conversation with Dr. Shawna Cooper-Gibson, Vice President of Student Services. I just want to let you know that this session is being recorded. We will have an on-demand page and we'll add all our Seton Hall Week recorded sessions to the page. Please kindly mute yourself, and if you have any questions during this session, please use the raise your hand icon on the top right of your screen. Use the chat feature to share your questions or hold your questions until our Q&A sessions. As you probably know by now, Seton Hall Weekend is Seton Hall Week this year. While this year's event will look much different than it has in past years, we are committed to provide a week-long experience full of engaging virtual offerings for families, alumni, students, and the community. I'm so happy that we have Dr. Shawna Cooper-Gibson with us this morning. She joined the Seton Hall family about 1 year ago in October of 2019. Originally from Illinois, she earned her doctoral degree of education from Boston University, her Master of Education degree from National Louis University, and her Bachelor of Science degree from the University of Illinois. Prior to Seton Hall, she served as the Assistant Provost at Loyola University Chicago, Dean of Students of the School of Social Services Administration at the University of Chicago, Director of African American Student Affairs at Northwestern University, Assistant Director of the Student Activities Office at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, and Assistant Dean of the School of Communication at Loyola University Chicago. At Seton Hall, Dr. Cooper-Gibson manages 5 distinct areas: academic success, campus inclusion and community, student engagement, public safety and security. Under Shauna's leadership, Student Services is creating a premier student experience that is equitable and consistent, enhances student support and retention, and prepares students to be impactful global citizens. Thank you, Shauna, for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Sandro. Well, welcome everyone to our event. I've done a few of these coffee and conversations with parents, and I like to keep these conversational. So I do encourage you to use our chat function, raise your hand, or just unmute yourself and ask questions. But first I'll start with some major things that we're working on at the university that impacts your students. So first, I co-chair the Health Intervention and Communication team with Matt Borowick, and our job is really to make sure that our campus is healthy and safe. As you all know, we opened in late August after spending hours upon hours with over 140 individuals from across campus working to make our campus safe and healthy for our students to return to experience on-campus experiences. We had everything from plexiglass and signage all over campus, and hand sanitizer, welcome back kits, new protocols to make sure that we're doing our best to curb the virus on our campus. And I think we've done an amazing job. I'm looking at the date now, it's October 23rd. It's hard to believe that we've had students on campus as early as July, and then had the bulk of our students coming back on August 16th. And they have been really following our health and safety protocols. We've made sure to have both virtual and in-person events, making sure that we're, of course, being socially distant. Our students are wearing masks, and I should also note that our employees are doing that as well. We've really adapted to the high flex learning environment. So for those students preferring to attend classes in person, are able to do so, as well as those students who are more comfortable doing their classes remote are also able to do so. So I think Seton Hall has done an amazing job, and it's by no means an effort of one sole individual. It's really been a group effort. We have some folks on this call who are helping with a number of things in technology. So I have to give a shout out to my buddy Burke, who's been particularly helpful in a number of events we've hosted for our students. But also we're looking at new ways of engaging our students. Our student organizations and student clubs have been hosting a number of events, and we've been participatory in them. We've been able to track a lot of data on what our students want. And we've been also been able to do a number of different events that we might not have done before. So for example, we have drive-in movies regularly for our students to come in and participate. And part of the Premier Student Experience that we're talking about is a fair and equitable experience. So no matter if you are a student from New Jersey, a student from Portland, Oregon, that we have an opportunity for our students to engage in some way, shape, or form that is going to be, no matter who you are coming in through our gates, that you have a fair and equitable experience. That includes partnerships with faculty, partnerships with our priest community, partnerships with our various staff and administrators, and of course, certainly last but not least, partnerships with our parents. I've said before in a number of these calls that I'm also a parent of a college student, so I understand concerns and worries. And our job really is to work with you all and communicate with you all, but really put the independent responsibility on the students. And so we often ask our students to come talk to us first. When we hear from parents, we know that the situation may have escalated. But I will say that it's gone very, very well. We continue to monitor the status of the virus across the country, within the state, within the region, and of course on our campus. We're working with local health officials to make sure that we're doing our contact tracing, doing follow-up. We've done a number of preventative measures, including offering flu clinics on campus. If a student missed their flu clinic, they can certainly make an appointment at health services. And this will be some new information, so get ready for some insider details on our closure the residence halls at Thanksgiving. We are going to be offering all of our students an opportunity if they would like to test before they go home. So we're doing a number of different opportunities for our students, and we think that it seems to be going well, but we also welcome your feedback. The other big things is, one of the things that I really enjoy about being part of Seton Hall community is we don't rest on our laurels. We are constant process improvement. So if you have questions that come up later, feel free to email me directly or use our suggestion box that allows anyone, students, parents, alumni, faculty, staff, priests, to really provide feedback. They can do so anonymously. They can do so that we follow up. One of the systems that Sandra and I have developed is, if you have asked questions that I don't have the answer to because I don't oversee all areas, we do our best to get you an answer shortly after this presentation. The other big things that we are working on as a university is the strategic plan, and that is no small undertaking. So as Sandra mentioned, with our Premier Student Experience, there are pieces associated with that include implementation. I happen to be at I'm co-chairing both the Student Success and the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion's strategic goal plans. And so right now, the entire strategic goal plans, there are 5 of them. 2 of them are more academic facing, another one's on the university structure. We are in the process of doing implementation planning. So again, one of the pieces that I appreciate about being part of the Seton Hall community is that we are not going to have a strategic plan saying, we're going to be one of the best Catholic universities in the country. How are we going to go about doing that? And how we're going to do that is through our implementation planning. So right now, for the Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and the Student Success Committees, we are looking at the activities associated with becoming the Premier Student Experience, about creating a sense of belonging for all on campus. And those activities range in everything from how we celebrate Cultural Heritage Month. We just closed Hispanic Heritage Month about a week ago, to trainings, to how we communicate with our students. So for example, we now have a communication plan in which every member of our community gets a diversity, equity, and inclusion email on Wednesdays, a health intervention and communication team email on Thursdays, and then a student services email from me to the students every Friday. So now the students know to expect when they're getting certain types of communication. We often forward this communication to parents. Additionally, we are going to be putting the implementation plans to our board, and we will hopefully start implementing as early as mid to late December. So very, very excited about that. And we're doing this all in the eyes of looking at how we're facing the pandemic of COVID-19. We're also looking at the pandemic of systemic racism as well. We are working with our students across campus. We are working with our employees and priests and everyone really involved in our campus to think about how we address the pandemic of systemic racism. So our students have been doing a number of trainings with us. We've also started to engage in a lot of conversation of how we can combat racism, because that is something that we do not accept on our campus, and really starting to think about ways in which we can be more preventative and then reactive. We know that we have the elections coming up. So we're doing a lot of programming around elections and engaging in civil discourse with our students. We're partnering with our faculty on a number of these initiatives. So it's been a really, really busy and exciting and engaging time at Seton Hall. And again, I just wanted to kind of give that platform right now and then really open it up to some conversation. And I see some questions coming through the chat. So I see one coming from T. Johnson. What type of COVID testing will be offered? So we offer a number of different testing. We have some level of rapid testing, we have saliva testing, and we have nasal swabs. We work with our health services department determining the type of test that will be offered. We have a pretty quick turnaround to get results back. So there are a number of different types of tests that we have available. And how close to home will the students be able to test? So we will be only offering testing on our campus at South Orange. So that's how students will be able to test. They can test before they go home. Generally, we'll be offering these around a week or two before Thanksgiving ongoing so that they have enough time to lead out. So Sandra, if it's okay, I'd just like to open it up for questions and conversation now, rather than me talking for the whole hour.
Definitely, yes. If anyone has any questions, please raise your hand, and when you do, just introduce yourself. If you have a son or daughter, what's their major, what year they are. I think people are still drinking their coffee and waking up.
Well, I'll give a few examples, and I might ask my colleague, Ghana Hilton, to jump in on the number of some activities that we've had across campus. So I mentioned that we had a drive-in movie. I believe there was a pumpkin carving and decorating contest that we had on the green. Ghana, do you mind sharing a few of the activities that we've done in person?
I do not mind. So yes, we recently had several pumpkin activities as it is pumpkin season, as everyone very well knows. So we had pumpkin painting. You could go and pick up a kit and you would get a pumpkin, so you'd be able to paint your pumpkin. The alumni group also had a pumpkin smash, which was interesting. The green was looking quite orange for that day. The drive-in movie theater is coming up this week. We're also having some more themed around Halloween events coming up this week as well. So we've been doing quite a bit on campus. So it's been pretty exciting, but a lot of fall themed. It's been fall at the hall. At the IHS campus, they just recently had the therapy dogs there. So lots of fun fall activities.
We've also done service activities as well. So one of our RAs did a program in which they wrote letters to the elderly. We've had some of our RAs lead, how to engage in, again, civil discourse with the upcoming election. So just so that you know, we're doing both in-person and virtual activities in the residence halls to do as well.
And maybe just remind people about the new academic schedule that came out that was revised.
Yes. So in one of our health intervention and communication team recommendations that was approved by executive cabinet is that our classes will not start for the spring semester until January 27th. And we have canceled spring break. We are very much trying to discourage our students from traveling. We know that the virus has spread when there have been long breaks for college students. So we did cancel spring break this spring.
I know, Shauna, just talking to parents over the past month, one of the, not their concerns, but I think one of their observations is the freshman studies has been tremendous in regards to specifically peer advisors and like mentors. And if you could speak a little bit more about that, because I think it's something that they have seen that has been a tremendous help to their students, while especially incoming freshmen, it's been a huge assistance.
Absolutely. And I'll actually go back to one of the things that we did in trying to build the premier student experience in student services. So I know Sandra had talked a little bit about the various areas that I oversee, but that was a restructure that we did back in June. Part of the building a premier student experience, I always believe starts at home, and I really wanted to address the areas that I oversee. So as Sandra mentioned, we have five distinct areas, one of them being academic success. And so we have different sub areas within academic success, including the Career Center, the Academic Resource Center, which is our tutoring center, academic advising for our student athletes, and then our Center for Academic Success, which was formerly Freshman Studies. One of the things that we're trying to do is really think about being more inclusive, and Freshman Studies is, we don't just serve freshmen and what was formerly Freshman Studies. That's why we're calling it the Center for Academic Success.
Sean, I think you're breaking up a little bit.
Dr. Cooper-Gibson.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, yes.
If you're having trouble with your signal, if you mute your camera and just go with audio only, it should enhance the signal.
So I'm sorry you won't be able to see me. Is that better?
Yeah, it's not perfect, but it is much better.
Yes.
Okay. I apologize.
It's okay.
So one of the things that we are doing is really taking a look at our first year experience in totality. So while our Center for Academic Success certainly has a really wonderful program with our peer advisors, with our U-Life class, which is a first year seminar that all students take, we're also looking at enhancing that through student engagement opportunities. So we actually have a group of advisors, peer advisors, faculty who are going to be participating in developing a more of a first year experience. We're going to be piloting some of these activities in the spring, but have started some of this collaboration in the fall. Additionally, we're going to be taking a look at our U-Life curriculum, getting feedback from our students. We taught a number of our sections. We had over, I want to say, 70 sections of our class, which is our first year seminar, and we put about a third of those on Fridays so that we can have some level of engagement on weekends. So we normally would have a class on Friday and then have a number of activities on Friday evening, Saturday, and Sunday, of course. One of the other things that we're looking at is, again, that roadmap for students throughout their 4 years or 5. We're looking at what are the key experiences, key signature experiences that we have in the first year, the second year, and the third year. One thing that I think some students think is that I don't need to go to the Career Center until I'm looking for an internship or for a job. In reality, they really need to be stepping foot into the Career Center their first semester, because it's not just about finding a job or finding an internship. It's really about doing some career exploration. Many of us are doing positions right now that we didn't go to our undergraduate programs for. So really taking a look at what our career exploration opportunities are, developing your first resume and so forth. So that would be a signature experience of the first year. You know, as you're exploring your second year, what are those pieces that we really want everyone to start to consider? So we're doing a number of different things to really enhance the student experience and keeping the students at the heart of it. So one of the things that I also do is I work really closely with the Student Government Association, and we meet about, I would say, every other week, but they always have constant contact with me to let me know what's keeping a pulse on what's going on with the students. It's been really exciting to have this relationship because they are certainly providing a lot of very good feedback that determines which direction we go. So they provided feedback on how we do high flex with our classes. They provided feedback on our existing programming. They provide feedback on academic advising. Additionally, they talked to us a little bit about what their plans are on working with us. So it's been a really exciting opportunity, but I'm going to go to some of the questions because I believe some questions have been coming through this chat, and Sandra and Ghana, I might ask for your help in kind of monitoring the questions.
There's a question from Verna Morris, and this might not be your domain, but you might have some insight. Are there any plans for graduation, perhaps by a different school, to make it smaller or virtual, or is it too soon?
It's not too soon. So that the graduation programs are come out of the provost office. office. So I've asked a couple of my colleagues to be on this call so that we can note that question and follow up directly with Verna, so that we can get an answer for her. So that comes out of the provost office. So I don't have an answer for that, but I will find out as soon as I can.
There's another question from Maria Giovaniello. When will the professors disclose whether their course will be in person or virtual for the spring session?
That's a great question. So during our registration period, right now we are working with our faculty academic departments, and then also working with student preference. So student registration, they will know what modality with the classes are going to be offered. We kind of had to do a backwards this past spring registration because we were already at the registration point and didn't know what we were going to look like in the fall. At this point, we do know we're going to be high flex in the spring. So it will be known upon registration when the students are registering for their classes, and I believe early November, to determine which classes are in person, virtual, or high flex.
And we have another question from Michelle Worry. What plans are there to bring off-campus living students back on campus?
So off-campus students can already come on campus through their high flex environment. So they obviously can come in for their class sessions. But one of the things that we've also done, and Ghana, I might ask you to chime in here, is we've also offered remote learning spaces so that students don't have to go locally to try to study. We have remote learning spaces in which students can reserve rooms to do studying. So Ghana, do you mind chiming in?
Absolutely not. So yes, the remote learning program started when commuters came back to campus. We understood that two things might happen. Number one, a commuter might be in between classes and need a place to go. They couldn't go back home in between those classes. And second, the residents might be in the same room at the same time, trying to attend a class at the same time, and it just might be a bit too much for them. So one of them may decide that they needed to be outside of the room. So we started remote learning rooms, which is we have two kinds: a solitary room that a person can reserve for 2 hours to either take a class or take a test. It's really helpful for tests because the room is solitary, they're in there by themselves. So some of our testing apparatus needs you to be by yourself when you take a test, so that's appropriate for them. The program went really well, so we have added some rooms. We've also added some study spaces. Those are not solitary, so it's kind of like a quiet space. There's desks, but there are other people there. So we have 40 desks that people can reserve hourly, so that they can have quiet time to study. So we're just looking at utilizing some spaces that we didn't normally utilize for studying to give students, both commuter and residents, just more flexibility in terms of testing, attending classes, and quiet studying.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
The only reason I was asking is because I know many of the off-campus students living nearby find the high flex very confusing. So they can't get it together, so all they do is stay off campus. Just speaking from experience with my daughter.
So one of the things I would suggest, Ms. Weary, is if you would like to have your daughter reach out to us, I want to make sure that she understands the high flex, because I get that it could be confusing. As we were developing it, we were in it. So if there are any questions, again, I encourage you to have her email us so that we can help explicate kind of how the processes work.
Will do. Thank you so much.
So I'd like to actually open it up to the parents. We've got another question coming in. Could a student who needs, so the question is, could a student who needs privacy for a telemedicine appointment use one of those remote study rooms if they cannot have their dorm room to themselves? Yes, the remote study rooms are open to any student. So they're not limited to our commuter student population. So one of the things that I'm very good at is I don't pretend to know everything. And so one of the best opportunities that I get in these types of audiences is really kind of crowdsourcing ideas and brainstorming. So as parents of Seton Hall students, I would love to learn more of what you hope to see for your student in the next few months, this academic year, and when we eventually, return to normal. So I have some of my team on this call with me to kind of help note some of your pieces, because one of the things that I'm excited about in our implementation planning for the strategic plan is it allows us to incorporate some of these ideas as part of our strategic plan, and I would love for parents to be included in that effort. So are there any things that you all have seen that you would love to explore at Seton Hall, or that you would like to see enhanced at Seton Hall? This is our opportunity to really have the parent voice in our plans moving forward.
Shauna, I know that Ghana placed the suggestion box link where we've been asking parents to share their ideas and suggestions and how we could improve as an institution. So we're hoping that they are providing some good insight to your team with that suggestion box. But I think that was a great idea. And one of the other things that we could do is definitely solicit ideas from parents through a survey, if that's something that you would want to do.
Absolutely.
I'm in.
Is there a question, Venus?
No, I said I'm in for that survey or suggestion link. I just can't figure this Teams things out. To type, chat, and all that kind of stuff. It's easier to talk.
Yeah, definitely.
We love talking.
That's why I much prefer in person. So do the kids. I'll be honest with you. So do the students. They're not having the same experience.
No, absolutely. And that's, it's been hard for us to, I didn't go into student affairs to meet with my students on a computer. I went into student affairs because I love meeting with students, talking with them. As part of my interview process, one of them said, "How do you know you've been effective at your role?" And I said, "I see it through your." So that happens when we talk with them, when we meet with them, when we engage with them, and doing so via computer is not the ideal way of engaging. We had to do it this way, but it's certainly not our preferred.
Shauna, I have a question for you as well. I know one of the divisions that you oversee is wellness and support, especially for students who, this experience is not the one that they were hoping for. But how do you reach out to students, or how they reach out to you if they need someone to speak to, if they need some counseling? What do you recommend that they do just to get some support in regards to their mental health during this, this pandemic, actually?
Absolutely. So, and I apologize if I'm breaking up a little bit. So we oversee counseling and psychological services. So any student who has any concerns around mental health needs someone to talk to professionally. We have our CAP staff available to meet with any and every student who needs that type of support. If their students are not sure who they want to go to, one of the things I do encourage them, they can reach out to me directly. I will put them in touch with the right person. Get the runaround, I will make sure that I direct them to the appropriate resource. We know that this is a very tough time for many students, and I will say the students have been, following through and contacting me directly, so it has been great. They're also checking on each other, which I think speaks to the spirit of Seton Hall. Roommates and friends are saying, "I'm worried about so-and-so." And so our offices will reach out and check in on these students. For those students who are residential in particular, we have our RAs and professional staff who also reach out to these students. We have our Dean of Students office. We have our student engagement team. So we have lots of folks keeping our eyeballs on students. We just have to learn about them, because we're not going to be so invasive that we're going to, go and knock on everyone's door. But we will, if there are concerns from parents and students for their students' engagement, I suggest you reach out to us, and we'll follow up accordingly.
Shauna, there's a question from Joe McDonald. And again, this might not be your department, but he writes, other universities have adjusted their tuition rate during the pandemic. Has Seton Hall considered doing so?
I will bring that question to our CFO. That was, again, anything money related is really not in my purview. I'm really worried about just the taking care of the students outside of the classroom, partnering with our faculty and our provost office on that. So I will certainly bring that question back. So again, I'll ask my colleagues to take that question down and make sure it gets to our chief financial officer.
Shauna, maybe a follow-up could be, I know in regards to the cost that Seton Hall has absorbed in regards to retrofitting the classrooms, they've done a lot in regards to making sure that public safety and security is priority number one. Can you share a little bit about what the university did just to prepare for this semester? I think might give a good insight in regards to the investment into making sure our students and faculty and staff are safe.
Absolutely. We've spent lots of money, to say the least, on outfitting our campus. So if you come to our campus, you'll see plexiglass all over the place. You'll see hand sanitizer stations all over the place. We purchased over 15,000 welcome kits that includes hand sanitizers, wipes, masks, and bags that we gave to every one of our returning not only students, but also employees. We have done a number of different technology enhancements for our classrooms, and we used the CARES money that we received. Half of that went directly to students. So we had just, I want to say, $2.8 million that went to students who are experiencing significant financial hardships from the pandemic. And then the other half of that money went to the university to do some of the work that we're talking about this morning. So we've spent an enormous amount of time and money to make sure that our campus is healthy and safe. And it's been a huge undertaking, but I've been really proud of how we have implemented not only just the physical and facilities pieces, but also the behaviors. So you are hard pressed to find someone on Seton Hall's campus who's not wearing a mask around campus outside. While the CDC makes certain recommendations, we usually take it a step above. So as much as I would like to have my students in my office and meeting with them in person, I do not, because we want to protect each other, protect ourselves. We are also, though, available for our students. So while some of us are working on reduced density in our offices, we do make sure that we are available. In fact, one of the things I have to tell my team is, you don't have to be available 24/7 because they do make themselves even more available because they're worried about that, sometimes those lack of in-person opportunities. I see a question on the upcoming basketball season. I will bring that question to Brian Phelps. I am not sure. We're seeing how college football is looking, and I know that has been particularly challenging for the schools that host football. And I did see, I believe I read just the other day that a basketball team had been put into quarantine for 2 weeks because, they want to limit the spread of the virus. So I will bring that particular question to Brian Phelps and be able to follow back up with you, Gina, if that's okay.
And Gina, I also posted the link to Pirate Blue. So there's a wealth of information on just our athletics. So there should be some information there that you can find about our women's and men's basketball schedule for the fall and winter schedule. So Shauna, since you've been at Seton Hall for a year, what have you observed or what have you experienced that you've not experienced in other universities that you've worked at Seton Hall? Just if you could share some insight into your experience so far after a year.
Absolutely. So, a couple of things that we started in student services was kind of the theme of communication, collaboration, and coordination, our 3 C's. And one of the things that I've been really excited about working at Seton Hall about is the folks that are not in our student services division who've then been participatory in this. So, Sandra, if I can be honest, I'm excited to collaborate with you and talk to parents because, again, I'm a college parent. And I know that my son does not attend school at Seton Hall, but I have not been invited to this type of opportunity before at his institution. So I'm going to be putting some notes in their suggestion box. But it's been a great opportunity for us to not be in silos, and for us to work together in enhancing our campus, because it's about our students, it's about our faculty, it's about our administrators, it's about our priests, it's about our parents and alumni. And one of the things that everyone has been really brought into is really the collaborative effort, that no one owns something. It's always a collaborative effort. We're working with, corporate and foundation relations on providing, looking into monetary opportunities to support our more vulnerable populations. We're looking at partnering with faculty on making adjustments to our first year seminar curriculum. We're working with the provost office on welcoming our students in new student convocation. And as I mentioned before, our first year experiences is not something that student services is leading by itself. We're working with folks across campus, our priest community included. So it's been a really exciting opportunity to be collaborative. And we are again working on our communication and then making sure we're not doing the same things in different realms. So the coordination piece has been huge as well. So really reaching out to a number of different offices saying, are you doing this too? Okay, let's work together. For example, the faculty are also holding some events around the election, and we want to make sure that we are working with them to make sure that we're not having events on the same night, that we're, really looking at kind of a calendar to make sure that everything is coordinated. So I've been really excited about how everyone is really participating in the 3 Cs and really looking to one Seton Hall. I've also been impressed with, how we're doing a strategic plan implementation piece right in the middle of a pandemic. I think that's important because it provides us a roadmap of how we're going to look over the next 3 to 5 years. And we are certainly keeping the pandemics in mind, but that we're charging forward. We know that a number of universities have paused these types of projects while they kind of manage the virus, but we're doing both. And I've been really impressed with everyone who's been participatory in those efforts.
Thank
I
you,
heard
Shauna.
the chat dinging.
There's a question from Mr. Johnson, and this is something you touched upon in regards to wellness and support. A lot of students are struggling psychologically with the isolation of the online learning experience, and that is potentially affecting their performance, especially freshmen who are also struggling with being away from home for the first time. Will that be taken into consideration with regard to continuing Seton Hall scholarship eligibility? Those students are dealing with the added anxiety of losing that. Really good question.
So if any student is worried about losing their scholarship, they should contact us and contact the financial aid office. I know that there are exceptions to every rule. And so we will take this question back to our financial aid office, but we are very understanding that the students are experiencing a lot and struggling with some of their mental health, and will certainly take some of these things into consideration. So we will take that back to our financial aid department. But I think that is something that I don't want our students to worry about at this juncture. I really want them to be concentrating on their studies.
Thank you, Shauna. There's another question from Joe McDonald. There seems to be an increase in COVID occurring in New Jersey at this time. If Seton Hall has to quickly transition to all virtual instruction, how much time will be provided for resident students to move out of the dorms? Will they be allotted time slots similar to when they moved in?
Yes, so we do actually have what we call a pivot plan. We've been seeing a number of institutions across the country have to do just that. So part of our health intervention and communication team developed plans on pivoting for quickly transitioning students off campus into a virtual instruction. And they will be given a certain time to get in off of campus. Additionally, one of the things that I want to note is we know that not all students can go home. We want to make sure who is housing insecure has a place to stay. So we also keep that piece in mind. But yes, we would have a safe and organized way of moving our residents out should we need to pivot to completely remote learning.
Thank you, Shauna. Don't see any more questions.
Well, as I said before, Sandra, this is not, oh, I see another one coming in. Think about going on campus. We've heard campus one. I don't know the exact percentage, but I will say if students are interested in returning to campus, whether that be just for classes for commuters or living on campus in our residence halls, we have that capability. Our plans are continuing to move forward as we did this past fall with having our residence halls open and having a high flex learning environment. So students are welcome to reach out to our housing and res life departments if they're interested in living on campus, but did not live on in the fall. And but I don't know the percentage. Part of that is going to be determined from the registration that's happening in early November about what our students' plans are. The biggest piece that's there is just our student choice. Our students have the choice if they want to be remote or high flex.
Shauna, I just included a link to your wonderful annual report for student services. And again, I just want to give your team an amazing congratulations to it. It's just a wonderful report. So I hope it's something that's shared with parents. I know we sent a link to it through our parents' newsletter, and I hope our parents are reading it because it's just an amazing detailed information about what you're trying to accomplish with your divisions. But I don't, if you want to share a little bit more about the annual report, I think it's just an amazing piece.
It really is. I want to give a special shout out to both our communication and assessment committees within the Division of Student Services. So this actually came from, it's kind of an inside joke, but when I first started at Seton Hall just over a year ago, I got 130 plus page annual report from the different areas in student services. And none of them were formatted the same. All of them were sharing very different information. I didn't see goals in some, I didn't see objectives in others. And I really wanted to look at how we can bring this into one total report that was easily digestible for anyone, both on or off campus. So in working with our assessment team, they developed rubrics to help our different areas to really model what we wanted to see in an annual report. And then working with our communication team to really look at the framework in which folks could really easily digest the material. So it was a huge undertaking from both of those committees, but they saw that vision through, and it's really exciting to see the product that they came up with. And this will be the format going forward. We have our webpage and it's publicly available, and it's really exciting because this is something, as you know, a higher education nerd, as I like to say, I like to read these types of things to see where we are. Where we would like to go, and then, you know, what do we see in the future? So it's been really exciting to have this annual report. I'm starting to see some more questions coming in the chat. Is the Career Center offering any new career ideas? Yes, they are. So we'll take this question specifically back to our Career Center. We still are holding career fairs, virtual, and some small in-person events through our. So we'll circle back around with our Career Center and make sure that we'll get that information to you specifically on what those workshops look like. This Career Center also is involved in our U-Life class for our first year students. So they do come in and talk a little bit about their services to our first year students as well.
And I know we're excited. We created a new speaker series for parents to be engaged. And it's called How I Got Here. And the opportunity is that for Seton Hall students to get unique firsthand perspectives about the careers enjoyed by some of our talented parents. So the idea is to empower our students with a window into what potential pathways exist for them after Seton Hall. And we have close to, I think, more than 11,000 parents across the United States, internationally, who are, you know, doctors, lawyers, teachers, nurses. And so this is a great way for parents to be engaged and be a part of the Seton Hall community, but also sharing their talent and just their, you know, their minds about, you know, the pathways that they've taken to get to where they're at. And so we're excited, and we're kicking that off, especially during Seton Hall week. We have 6 parents that are going to be sharing their career paths with our students and our Seton Hall community. So if anyone is interested, please let me know. It's something that we really feel that parents can bring added value to our students. And hopefully the opportunity is the networking. And I think our students are, you know, they're concerned about after Seton Hall, right? Just getting a job. And so we're hoping our parents can open their networks and their opportunities and share their advice and career advice to our students. So we're excited. So that's one way parents can really make a difference with our students and their experience here at Seton Hall.
So I see a compliment from Verna about our great job that we're doing with COVID numbers low. So one of the things I need your parent help with is, in order to keep those numbers low, I need you to continue to engage with your students. I would be remiss if I didn't admit that I'm a little worried about Halloween weekend. Next weekend, next Saturday is Halloween. This has traditionally been a very fun time for everyone across the country, across the state, and on our campus. This Halloween's going to look a lot different than any Halloween we've ever experienced before. And I would appreciate your help in communicating with your students the need to really discourage them from any type of gatherings. Other than maybe the people they live with. We'll have a number of different activities that will be socially distant. A number of cities, both in South Orange and around South Orange and Nutley and Newark, have canceled Halloween and trick-or-treating. I don't want students, hosting gatherings whatsoever, other than what we have planned on campus that we know is gonna be socially distant. So if you could talk to your students and encourage them to participate in our activities, or stay in there if they're off campus, stay in there with their roommates and watch a scary movie or something along those lines. We need your help in encouraging our students to remain vigilant in our health and safety protocols, because we know that we've seen at other campuses and across the country the selfish behavior of some students who ignored the health and safety protocols that endangered not only themselves, but their families and their communities. So if you wouldn't mind, as parents, please talk to your students just to remind them, Halloween is certainly a fun time, and you can still have it be fun with a number of things that we're offering, as well as, keeping with your roommates and so forth. So please, encourage them. If there are any questions, certainly contact me, but Halloween is going to be an interesting time for all of us next weekend.
I'm just going to quickly add the university calendar. It does have the dates and all of the upcoming events, and we are always telling students to look at that, and in addition to social media, to see what the upcoming events are so that they don't miss out on opportunities, both virtual and in person. So I will drop that in the chat as well.
Well, I don't see any other questions, but I think we could wrap up here. Shauna, thank you so much for sharing your insight on student services and just sharing your time and your talent with all of us. It's been refreshing working with you and Ghana and your team to provide information and answer questions to our parents. I think, as you mentioned, breaking down these silos and working as a team and collaborating is the way to go. I remember Mike Reuter, who would always say we're a family, and I really feel that we are at Seton Hall. And thank you again for participating in our first virtual offering here during Seton Hall Week. And again, thank you everyone for joining this morning. As you know, we have close to 36 virtual offerings during Seton Hall Week. Especially today, there's a couple of things that are going on for Seton Hall Week. At 10:30 a.m., if you haven't registered, we have what it's called our back to school classes for parents and alumni with BJ Schechter, who's our professional in resident at the College of Communication and Arts. And he will be talking about his career in sports journalism. So if you're interested in that, please join. And you can see if you look at the schedule of events, then we added a link in the chat about Seton Hall Week. There's so many different wonderful offerings that you should participate in, and please share it with your students. We would love for students to also join in some of these events that we're offering as well.
Thanks for having me, Sandra. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, everyone have a great day, great weekend. Please be safe. Go Pirates. Take care, everyone. And thank you, Ghana. Thank you, Milan, as well. And Burke, thank you for all that you do.
Thank you. It was fun.
Thank you, Michelle. It's great seeing you.
You as well, Sandra. Take care.
Take care.